Morning. Okay. First, I would like to apologize for the postponement of this lecture last week. No, I have to attend to an emergency, but I was given the assignment of lecturing optic nerve disorders. But the when I look at the design, it's supposed to be a neuro-ophthalmologist disorder. So we'll just expand to extraocular muscles. So here's the topic of the title of my lecture: Neuro-ophthalmology disorders, how to recognize, localize, and manage. As you can see here, this is a classic picture of an optic disc swelling. There's no clear borders, for your optic disc, and as you can see, there are numerous splinter hemorrhages. Okay, so this is a classic case of a patient with papillitis or an optic neuritis. Okay, let's move. So for the outcomes of this lecture, by the end of the lecture, first you will be able to recognize the signs and symptoms of neuro-ophthalmic disorders and perform a focused neuro-ophthalmic eye exam, because sometimes this is being neglected when you're doing a complete eye exam. Parang in passing lang yung extraocular muscles and the visual fields, no? And also, if you do a neurologic examination, it is often overlooked or nami-miss out din yung motility exam. So differentiate between optic nerve, visual pathway, and eye movement disorders. So we'll focus on that. And then localize movement problems into supranuclear, or the higher system, like your frontal and parietal lobe lesions, nuclear and infranuclear. And we can also zoom in one condition at the neuromuscular junction and another muscle cause. Identify key treatment principles and classify disorders as treatable or not. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Glenn. You can approach me anytime because I'm the quality manager at the UARM hospital. Later on, when you move next year, sana lahat kayo, you can approach me anytime there. I'm also a practicing neuro-ophthalmologist and cataract and refractive laser surgeon. My advocacies are quality management and process improvement. Okay, so let's start with the pretest. Read with me. A 25-year-old woman presents with sudden painful visual loss in one eye. Color vision is reduced, and there is a relative afferent pupil defect, which we introduced to you before, in PD in second year, how to do the swinging flashlight. Fundus exam is normal. What is the most likely diagnosis? Okay, you can show it in the chat. Is it A, papilledema, B, retrobulbar optic neuritis, C, non-arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy, or D, macular degeneration? Okay, if you answer papilledema, it's not the correct answer. So as your non-arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy, because you rarely see it in 25-year-old individuals. Macular degeneration will not produce RAPD. So the clue there is a 25-year-old female with RAPD that points to an optic nerve disorder. So either you choose B or C, because papilledema will not produce that, because most often papilledema in the early stage will not produce RAPD. But in the later stage, pag nasira na yung nerve fibers, pwede. Pero most of the time kasi bilateral din ang sira ng papilledema, ng chronic papilledema. But the best answer, because it's in the younger population, retrobulbar optic neuritis. Okay. You with me? You're still with me? Okay, next. A patient has bitemporal hemianopsia. Madali lang to, no? Because you already discussed this in neuroanatomy. Where is the lesion most likely located? Lesion? Okay, it's in the optic chiasm. Bitemporal hemianopsia, the scotoma is in the hemitemporal hemifield. No, as fibers go to the chiasm and towards posteriorly, the visual field defect is in the vertical meridian. So the one that is crossing are the nasal fiber. As we all know, inverse yung visual field, no? So kung ang nasal fibers ang compressed in the chiasm, the temporal hemifield ang scotoma. Okay. Last one. A patient presents with horizontal diplopia that worsens when looking at distant objects. On exam, the right eye cannot abduct. Okay, hindi makatingin to the temporal side. Which cranial nerve is affected? Okay, answer in the chat. It is 6, no? As you shift your focus from near to distance, ano dapat ang gagawin ng mata? Diverge, no? Magda-diverge or mag-abduct both eyes. So if one will not be able to abduct or diverge, now the problem is in the lateral rectus, which is being innervated by your sixth nerve. Okay, let's move now to introducing neuro-ophthalmology. It links vision and nervous system, and often neglected, as I've said a while back, by both ophthalmologists and the neurologists. That's the reason why it became a branch of ophthalmology. Many disorders show up with visual complaints and some neurological signs. The key principle here is always assess the vision, the pupils, motility, and fundus, yung apat na yun. Okay? Okay, let's move to the symptoms of neuro-ophthalmic conditions. For the visual, of course, because most of the time, if it's optic nerve, merong blurring of vision, some form of blurring of vision. If you catch it early, aside from a decrease in color, you will be able to elicit a central vision loss. No? But there are times wherein it also affects the more temporal part of the visual field, like hemifield defect. Ang altitudinal defect is a hemifield defect that respects the horizontal meridian. Either it is in the superior hemifield or the inferior hemifield. So we call that altitudinal defect. If it's lesser than that, you will have your arcuate defect. So yung arcuate, it's like donut shape defect, either superior or inferior or both the superior and inferior hemifield, no? Producing a donut shape visual loss or scotoma. So you can often see that in glaucoma, which is supposed to be a branch of neuro-ophthalmology, and some other conditions that like a compressive optic neuropathy can do that also. So it presents with a transient loss, and in the most common, the classic demyelinating optic neuritis will be observed for a few days and then will return to normal, or treatment shorter in duration. And we'll discuss that later, but it's supposed to be a transient loss, except for a few that will be seen as chronic cases. And there's doubling of vision if there is extraocular muscle involvement and cranial nerve palsies. So as I've said, in the early stages, there is color desaturation. So parang nag-fade yung colors, nagiging black and white yung TV, parang ganon. Or red desaturation. So if you have some red red objects in your clinic, you can let the patient identify that if they will be able to identify that. Of course, if it's ocular motility related, diplopia, later we'll discuss what is the difference between a binocular or a monocular diplopia. course, there's some will have image jumpiness, no, in patients with stroke. When you do smooth pursuit, you'll be able to, or the patient will describe this as image jumpiness, but you will elicit this in an exam for smooth pursuit. And oscillopsia. So you look for nystagmus if there's oscillopsia. Gumagalaw yung vision. Other symptoms include headaches, ptosis. Some of the students, they had the SGD. I mentioned, I asked what is the normal position of the upper lid margin. It's supposed to be 1 to 2 millimeter below the superior limbus. No? Anything below that will produce ptosis, no? Or you will declare that as ptosis. And eye pain on movement, especially in patients with optic neuritis. Some signs that you need to look at when you're doing the examination. So when you do visual acuity tests, you will elicit reduced vision unexplained by refractive errors. No? So even if you do pinhole, there is still blurring of vision. When you test for field defects, for central scotoma, you use your Amsler grid, no, when you're measuring the central visual field, and when you're measuring the peripheral visual field, no, other than central scotoma, your altitudinal, your hemianopsia, you will use your confrontation test. Abnormal pupils, you only elicit relative afferent pupil defect if the damage is unequal, no, worse in one eye, or there is normal one eye and then an abnormal optic nerve on the other. So there is no REPD if both are severely affected or both are normal. So also you can look for anisocoria, or one eye which has a bigger pupil than the other, that points to a cranial nerve 3 palsy. Motility deficits includes inability to abduct, no, in cases wherein there is a problem in horizontal movements, or inability to move the eye upwards or downwards. Or sometimes the orientation of the globe is on one side or on a particular side and not in primary gaze. Look for nystagmus and also ptosis. And optic disc changes includes when you do fundoscopy, look swelling, or I showed you that, no, there's no borders observed, no. Maybe you can look for splinter hemorrhages. Look for pallor, or yung hindi siya that halos white yung color nung the whole of the optic disc, or there's capping. I hope it was already shown to you in glaucoma. For a complete neuro-ophthalmic examination, you do Snellen or your ETDRS. And then for color vision, if you don't have Ishihara, you can use your Mongol eraser. We do sometimes test for the red cap because we have dilating drops in the clinic. Red kasi yung cap nun, so we ask for identification of that red color. So in red desaturation, no, hindi nila ma-identify yan. For pupils, you do light reflex, direct and indirect, but the most efficient way is to do the swinging flashlight to detect RAPD. For visual fields, as I've said, Amsler for central confrontation or the automated perimetry, you can order for that when you want to elicit or you want to look for or detect homonymous hemianopsia or bitemporal hemianopsia, or maybe even the altitudinal defect. For fundus exam, okay, look for swelling or pallor. Ocular motility, ito yung H-test, no? So we already performed that in PD, no? You let the patient follow your finger and you draw the H, no, in front of the patient, and looking, observing that the patient that does not move his head and just the eyes, no. You can also do cover tests, yung cover and cover, to identify phoria or tropia. So if phoria, you look at the patient and there's deviation, and then when you do the cover and cover, it's still present. While the phoria, most of the time the patient in primary gaze is central, yung ano niya, no, yung or yung orientation is normal. But when you do cover and cover, there's deviation noted, no? And when you uncover, then there is fixation of the eye, no, to primary gaze. So that points to, so that test, no, identifies if it's a phoria or atropia. And then you can also do diplopia charting. There are 9 cardinal gazes. So a primary gaze, and then there's 2 horizontal and 4 vertical, no? 6, including the up and down at center. So here, you test if the patient is having diplopia in all gazes or in certain gazes. So you let just the patient look at center, look at the you let the patient head turn to test for the lateral gaze and the 2 lateral gazes, and then you let the patient chin down and chin up, test for the vertical gazes. Special maneuvers, especially in myasthenia. First is if there is no tensilon, so the test of choice is tensilon, which is edaponium chloride, and if it's positive, there's improvement of the deviation or the ptosis. You can also do ice pack. It has the same specificity and sensitivity. So babad lang with yellow, with ice, for 2 minutes. Then if you observe the improvement, then it's positive for myasthenia. The reason is that ice decreases the esterase activity. So you want acetylcholine in the neuromuscular junction, so that it will be able to compete with antibodies, in the acetylcholine receptors, but easily degraded by your esterase. So by decreasing the presence of esterase in the neuromuscular junction, you will be able to increase the presence, of acetylcholine in that area. So there's improvement in the muscle activity. Okay, you can also do saccades. In saccades, you just let the patient look from one object to another. Fast eye movement yun, So you'll be able to detect problems in the higher centers. For smooth pursuit, just like your H test, pero just do it in the horizontal level from left to right. So if the patient will have follow-up saccades, because of inability to do smooth pursuit, then there's problem with the smooth pursuit center in the parietal lobe. Pearls, So to the 4 best these 4 things should be done if you want a mini neuro-ophthalmic exam to detect neuro-ophthalmic disorders: vision, pupil, motility, fundus. Okay. So let's go now to optic nerve disorders, So the first thing that you need to identify or differentiate is to differentiate optic nerve from macular disease, So in both produces a central scotoma. For optic nerve, there's disproportionate color loss, Walang color desaturation with macula. Talagang blurring of vision lang kagad. And of course, RAPD points to optic nerve. And there's also visual field defects, clusters of blind spots, that is very particular for an optic nerve type of defect. Altitudinal, arcuate, and paracentral. Lahat sila points to optic nerve. Compare it to a macular condition wherein there's only central loss. And siyempre, may these changes. this border, the splinter hemorrhage at the optic nerve, and sometimes there's cupping. For macula, obvious na may macular pathology. How will you know if there is a macular edema? So one way to look at if you do fundoscopy, if there's macular edema, for those of you who will be skilled later on, kasi lahat nung nasa group ko last time na nag-PD kami, hirap na hirap sila to do the fundoscopy. So talagang ako, even in clerkship that time, na was in med school, hindi ko alam, bakit, when looking back, hindi ko alam paano ako naging ophthalmologist. Because it's really hard to do fundoscopy. Anyway, makikita mo talaga elevated yung macula. So that's one way to identify macular edema. Pero kung hindi mo makita elevation, one way is to identify if there is hemorrhage or exudate in the area of the macula. But how will you know if you are in the area of the macula? Here, can you look? Can you see my pointer? Nakikita niyo ba yung pointer ko? Hello? Can you see my pointer? Okay. So it's supposed to be 2 disc diameter. No, ito, 1 disc. So 1, 2. Away from the optic nerve. No? Okay, so ito nasa nasal side when you do fundoscopy. So towards the temporal, 2 disc diameter, and then you will be able to see the macula. So the center of the macula is the fovea. So kung may makikita kang hemorrhage and exudates dyan, kahit hindi mo makikita yung actual elevation on fundoscopy, enough na yun to say that there's macular edema. Hindi mo lang malalaman kung nagka-ischemia dun sa area. The only way to identify if there's ischemia in the area is fluorescein angiography. Okay, let's move on. And in macular conditions, wala kang may elicit na RAPD. So what are the different optic nerve conditions? There are acute, marami sa kanila acute and chronic. No? So the acute, I separated the painful and the painless. Now let's move to the painful. Now, the most common is an optic neuritis that is painful. No? So the classic is the demyelinating optic neuritis. In the first few years, no, in the first episode and maybe a few more episodes of this, hindi siya MS kagad na outright, no. Usually idiopathic optic neuritis ang but the classic presentation of this is retrobulbar neuritis. Ano ibig sabihin retrobulbar? Walang maga, no. Pag tignan mo, the patient has visual loss, nag-test ka rin for RAPD, no, present. Unilateral, so isa merong malinaw, yung isa malabo. Pero when you look at the fundus, normal yung fundus kasi ang maga is at the back of the optic disc. No? So patient sees nothing, but the doctor sees nothing abnormal on fundoscopy. Pero yun nga, when you do the visual acuity test and also RAPD, meron. No? Okay, that's the classic. But there is also an optic neuritis that is autoimmune type. And it points to neuromyelitis optica, neuromyelitis. So merong optic neuritis, meron ding spinal cord lesions later on. But sometimes it presents first with optic neuritis. And itong myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein associated disease. Pareho yung presentation niya. No? It will be different lang when you order for the body. So, ang presentation niya is papillitis. So, as I've said, pag ang optic neuritis na mamaga, yung ano yung kanina, yung classic kanina, tapos both eyes, no? Both eyes. Tapos both are acute, tapos blurred vision yung patient. So, wala kang minsan ma-identify na RAPD dito kasi both are affected and medyo severe, no? So, when you diagnose this with papillitis, then you order for NMO. You get a lumbar tap and then order for NMO antibodies and MOGAD antibodies. Lastly, optic neuritis can present with a neuroretinitis due to an infectious cause. No? So this present as this swelling. So yung kanina nakita mo, pinakita ko sa'yo that sa inyo that there's an in border, may splinter hemorrhage. But this time, merong macular star. Merong distinct na exudates na forming a macular star. No? So this points to a cat scratch or a syphilis or a Lyme disease infection. So you have to treat the underlying cause. In chronic papilledema, lalo na yung fulminant, yung magang-maga talaga yung optic nerve, mag-extend kasi yung edema to the macular area. And it will also produce neuritis and bilateral din. If that is the case, no, you have to also look for other causes of papilledema. Papilledema is the term used when you're considering patients with increase in intracranial pressure. Yun lang yung doon ginagamit yung term na may optic disc edema and you call it papilledema. For the papillitis or neuroretinitis, if it involves the macular area. Okay, for acute and painless, the most common is your ischemic optic neuropathy. And then this one, it has two different conditions. The one is non-arteritic, hindi namamaga yung artery, and the arteritic type. No? You see non-arteritic in patients with metabolic syndrome or mga uncontrolled hypertension, diabetes, or hyperlipidemia. And you see this in patients age 50s and 60s. No? If it's 70s or 80s, you have to consider arteritic, giant cell arteritis, or sarcoidosis. Very rare or uncommon. I've seen just cases in the Philippines for the past 20. I've been in practice since 2004. So I've seen only two, arteritic optic neuritis. So the immunologists and the rheumatologists will often combine steroids and immunosuppressants for these conditions, yung arteritic. Let's move now to papilledema. The difference between this and papillitis is that in early papilledema, walang loss of vision. The only visual complaint of patients with this is headache, pain on eye movement, and also meningeal signs. And ang visual complaint is yung transient obscuration. Parang dimming lang of vision. Compare this to transient loss of vision, yung mga seconds loss of vision, amaurosis fugax yun. But this one, dimming lang of vision. So that's papilledema. No? Sometimes meron associated with unilateral or bilateral lateral rectus palsy. I will discuss that later. Pero ang papilledema, pag increase in intracranial pressure, sometimes it is so meron din siyang finding of unilateral or bilateral lateral rectus palsy. Okay? And in one condition where there's increase in intracranial pressure, there's papilledema, may be present din ng lateral, bilateral or unilateral cranial nerve 6 palsy. When you do the MRI, yung imaging, it's normal. But when you do the lumbar tap, mataas talaga yung intracranial pressure. You think of idiopathic intracranial hypertension. So, the former name of the tumor cerebri. So doon, normal ang imaging but abnormal yung pressures. No? So when you diagnose the patient with pseudotumor cerebri or idiopathic intracranial hypertension, you have to first rule out everything that causes increase in intracranial pressure before you diagnose the patient with idiopathic intracranial hypertension. So pag nagpa-cranial MRI or CT ka, that wala, normal, then you have to test pa rin yung fluids, no, yung CSF fluids that you got from a lumbar tap, no, para ma-eliminate mo yung mga encephalitis or meningitis, no. Okay, I will go back to, sorry, I opened the chat and there's one that messaged me, but later I will, I'll share that later, sorry. And then last acute and painless is traumatic optic neuropathy. It's not that painless kasi nga may trauma. Usually head trauma yan, may makikita ka sa mukha na contusion, hematoma, etc. But the optic nerve part, no, yung eye pain on eye movement, no, walang ganon, no. Pero talagang sudden visual loss, counting finger hand movement yung patients who suffers from this, no. And the involved area is the canalicular optic nerve as it passes through the optic canal. Nagkakaroon ng optic nerve transection. So medyo pangit din yung ano dito, treatment options for this. We'll go to treatment later on. Okay, so now let's move to chronic optic nerve disorders. There are just 4. First one is compressive optic neuropathy, as no. This is chronic because most of the time walang masyadong nakikita, and as I've said, peripheral ang pag-compression, sometimes peripheral visual loss ang una. So it's often progressive, so maganda yung central vision. Later on lang nagkakaroon ng visual acuity loss, no? So asymmetric, no, compressive, most of the time asymmetric. Tapos when you look at the optic disc, medyo may pallor more than capping. So pallor na nagdi-decrease in the color of the optic disc na nagiging white, no. But there are compressive optic neuropathy that produces capping, no. Most of the time ang capping you see in glaucoma. Lumalaki yung cap, no, compared to the disc size, no. So ang capping, if it's seen in compressive optic neuropathy, it points to compress the optic chiasm by your pituitary gland tumors. Yan, yun yung most common. So for toxic or nutritional optic neuropathy, it is symmetric central vision loss, no? Classic presentation or visual field defect presentation of optic nerve disease, no? And then temporal pallor, no? So you see this in patients na chronic alcoholism, patient na nagkaroon ng resection ng colon, ng bowel resection, no? Nagkakaroon kasi malabsorption ng vitamin B12, no? Yung naman sa isa, thiamine deficiency. And that leads to a toxic nutritional. Sa toxic naman, most common is ethambutol, optic neuropathy, and toluene. Do you know what is toluene? Anybody knows what is toluene? Toluene is an industrial, ito yung rugby, no? So yung mga rugby boys, no, sometimes you will, if they are examined, na makikita mo that some of them will have visual loss. Okay. Hereditary, the most common is Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. Now, this is a maternal DNA defect that is transferred to the male offspring. No? So, young males around 20 to 30 with bilateral subacute loss. Tapos, ang remaining vision nito is the large letters to around counting fingers and hand movement. So, very devastating, and walang treatment options available. And for chronic papilledema, if the compression or the cause is not addressed, no, there will be optic atrophy. An example of optic atrophy is this one, no, as you can see here, pale yung optic, wala namang capping, no, that is seen, but you can see the whole optic disc is pale. So for the treatment principles, for optic neuritis, we have to think that there's speedy recovery and treat underlying cause. No? So if it's neuritis, you have to treat the infection. But if it's the classic, you have to do IV corticosteroids. No? Sometimes for the autoimmune like NMO or MOGAD, no, you need immunosuppressants for those conditions. Next, for ischemic optic neuropathy, for the arteritic emergency to kasi mabilis yung blindness. So talagang high-dose steroids, IV, high-dose steroids. Biopsy here in the Philippines is just optional. Most of the time, if there's high suspicion for the condition, we already start high-dose steroids. For non-arteritic, no proven treatment to improve vision. So kung devastating yung initial insult, no, yun ang problema kasi will not be able to recover it. But kung ano lang, hindi pa ganun kagrabe yung visual loss, then you will be able to decrease yung chance of progression by controlling BP, the sugar, and also the lipids, and also to tell the patient to stop smoking and alcohol. For papil edema, you have to identify the cause of the increase in intracranial pressure, and if and of course, you have to lower the ICP, no, while you're still looking for the cause by giving carbonic anhydrase inhibitors or mannitol or glycerin, no, those that can decrease the intracranial pressure. No? Sometimes there is progressive and chronic cause, no, especially the idiopathic intracranial hypertension. There is option to do shunts, no. So you have to refer to neurosurgery for ventriculoperitoneal shunts. Papil edema. Okay, for compressive optic neuropathy, you have to relieve compression. So tatanggalin mo talaga yung tumor. If it's most of the time, it's pituitary adenoma, pituitary gland adenoma. So for the orbital cause, no, you can or do orbital decompression. So ang ginagawa talagang parang binibreak yung one of the rims, no, in the orbit. Most of the time, yung floor or yung lateral rim, no, of the orbit. For toxic, you have to remove the toxin, toluene, ethambutol, no. Sometimes you see ethambutol toxicity if the patient is being given in higher doses, or pag nag-extend yung treatment of ethambutol more than 2 months. So yan, dumadating na yun. And most common presentation is decrease in nagkakaroon ng color desaturation. So yun, pag ganun pa lang, you tell the patient to remove the ethambutol. So sorry, you have to tell the doctor, no, to remove the ethambutol and replace it with another medication for the TB. For toluene, siyempre you have to identify if the patient is addicted to it and remove it, no. So you have to replace the deficiency, no, vitamin A. So that's the reason why pag may mga nerve problems, then you give the vitamin B complex. For hereditary, supportive lang to. As I've said, walang good treatment options for this. It can deteriorate some more, no? But, so tell the patient to stop smoking and alcohol and do visual or low vision rehab, no? So mayroong mga gadgets ngayon, mga ano yun, telescopes, no, na nakakabit sa mga eyeglasses, no. Pero kasi malaki na rin ang tulong ng iPad ngayon as part of the low vision rehab. And of course, you have to refer to a genetic specialist, no, so for genetic counseling. Okay, so we're done with optic nerve conditions. We move on to localizing eye movement disorders. So here, let's go now to symptoms. So most of the time, patients will walk to you complaining of double vision. So you have to identify if it's binocular or monocular. So because it has different causes. No? First, the binocular, when you cover one eye of the patient, you tell the patient to cover one eye, and the doubling of vision disappears. No? So that points to a neuroophthalmic or an motility disorder. If it's a monocular, pag kinover niyo one and present pa rin yung diplopia, no, that points to a refractive cause. No? So either may dry eyes yung patient, so it involves the tears, or the cornea, may corneal edema pala, or merong cataract. Pero hindi siya neuro. Okay, so you have to remember this. Again, in Ocelopsia, you have to look for nystagmus. No? Madali lang pag you see the nystagmus in my gaze, natingin siya in front of you, tapos nakikita mo na agad nystagmus. Sometimes it is only elicited pag may certain gazes. So you have to do the H test and look for the nystagmus somewhere else, no? Sa ibang gazes. And then, if there's high eye heaviness, tapos may diplopia, nagduduling, no? And then binocular, di monocular, that points to myasthenia gravis. Kasi kung merong fatigue, eye fatigue, may diplopia, monocular, dry eyes yun. So that is the difference between the two. So you have to know that that one. So as for the signs, of course, there's eye misalignment. Madaling makita, talagang duling or banlag, no? Naka-deviate outward or deviated inward, no? So, and then when you do the H test, there's limitation of movements in certain cases, no? Of course, as said, you have to identify kung talagang may ptosis or talagang may lid retraction. So in lid retraction, I don't know bakit nawala rito yung isang picture. Pag tinignan mo yung lid retraction, it's dapat hindi nakikita yung superior limbus, or maybe nakikita yung sclera at the superior limbus. Pag nakita mo na yung sclera dyan, ang tawag doon scleral show. So that points to lid retraction. Of course, in patient with actual proptosis, you have to identify talaga kung may proptosis, which is protruding forward yung globe, no? So when you look at the lateral rim, dapat yung equator of the globe, you know, is medyo outward, protruding outward na, no? Hindi na siya right at the lateral rim. So pag ganun, meron actual proptosis, but most of the time, especially in hyperthyroid patients, lid retraction lang, walang actual proptosis. So as I've said, identify nystagmus not only in primary gaze but in gazes. And then test for saccades and smooth pursuits, lalo na if you're considering strokes in the higher centers. Of course, posture changes. This point, ito nakita nyo, may head turn and tilt. Naka-head turn ng konti to the left and head tilt. No? That one is pathognomonic to cranial nerve 4 palsy. So patients with hypertropia, naduduling sila, magko-compensate sila to see single binocular vision. Ganito gagawin nila. No? Mag-head posture changes. So you have to look for that kasi sometimes pag nakaganyan yung ano nila, minsan wala ng diplopia. So pag nag-test ka ng diplopia test, hindi nila hindi nila sasabihin nila single binocular vision yung nakikita nila. Okay? So pwedeng when you test for diplopia, pag tinatanong mo yung diplopia charting, kailangan straight head, hindi ganyan. I'm sorry, but nakikita, wala ba talagang picture? Sa inyo rin? Wala to?
Wala po.
Oo nga. Wait, anyway, sige. Sige, I will share these slides naman. I will check, bakit nawala siya. No? But let's move to exam for motility. No? You can do your observation. Kanina, sabi ko, dapat walang head posture involved, head tilt, no? And then you can do also your cover and cover. Kanina rin, we said that part of the normal examination is the H test, no? EOM movements, no? And then do diplopia charting and special maneuvers. Na-mention na natin lahat to. Lastly, kami, kasi pag hindi kayang mag-forced duction test, yung minumove mo yung yung muscle towards the eye na deviate yung ano, like kung if the right eye is deviated inwards, you have to pull muscle, no, towards the part na weak or restricted, kasi you have to identify if it's due to a paralysis or may restriction dahil may fibrous material na nag-restrict ng muscle, no. In thyroid kasi ganun eh. Talagang restricted yung muscle kasi nagkaroon ng restrictive myopathy na, nagkaroon ng fibrous formation dun sa muscle because of prolonged inflammation of the muscle. Hindi na maka-abduct. So what we do is anesthetic, topical anesthesia, and we use a forceps, no, to move it to that direction of the paralysis. So pag nakikita namin na pag on forced action may restriction rather than paralysis, no, it points to a restrictive myopathy rather than a paralytic cranial node 6 palsy. So we call that a forced action test. Oh, it's happening. Okay. Let's move now to localizing. Wait. May picture dito, but right. Okay, let's move. Sorry. Let's move to localization. So if you are presented with a patient with diplopia, and of course, you have to localize if it's just a peripheral nerve problem, or a problem near the muscle involved, no. So maybe the peripheral nerves, maybe a neuromuscular junction problem or muscle problem, or maybe it's something in the higher centers, no? So first, if it's in the supranuclear, if it's a supranuclear condition, you have to think of first the frontal eye fields, which is you locate this in the area of the frontal lobe, no? So this area is responsible for voluntary saccades, no? So how do you test for saccades? You let the patient look from one object on the left side and then shift kagad to the right side. So it tests for fast eye movements, no? So lesions in that area, no, will produce a problem in gaze, no? So ang nangyayari, naka-orient na. So yung pag merong stroke yung patient, pupunta sa ating na ganyan, no, nakatingin yung gaze niya towards one side, either the left or right side, no. Pag nakatingin na ganon, it always points to the direction of the lesion, no. And talagang doon kagad sa frontal eye field yon, specific, no. So if there is no diplopia, because both eyes are restricted equally, you have to saccades test, no. And if it's stuck, no, most of the time in that lesion, in that part of the lesion, no, and then you do MRI, you do imaging. Pero paano pag nag-smooth pursuit ka dito sa patients na to? Alam mo, pag may fina-follow silang object, masusundan nila. So saccades talaga ang problem, hindi yung slow eye movement. So when you're doing when you're testing for saccades in these patients, you have to test also for smooth pursuit in these patients. Okay? Next. So if it's in the parietal cortex where the parietal eye field is located, then the one that is affected is the smooth pursuit and attention. So ang nangyayari, pag tines mo yung smooth pursuit, no, hindi magta-track. So, kuwari, ang lesion is in the right parietal cortex, affecting the parietal eye field of that lobe. Pag patitingin mo to the left side, hindi mag-smooth pursuit. So, ang mangyayari, mangyayari, pag ginanyan mo, pagdating sa middle, ang mangyayari, gaganyan siya, magpa-follow up sakad siya. Parang magpa-pass eye movement siya, parang may nystagmus, no? Para marating niya yung eye mo. Kasi susundan niya yung eye mo eh. So, ang nangyayari, hindi siya smooth pursuit. Pag pass midline, ang mangyayari, ano siya, follow up sacads ang tawag. Alright. So, it points to a problem in the parietal eye field. So, since intact ang sacads, now when you do sacads from right to left, you'll be able to elicit a good sacads for these patients. Okay. Okay. So I've talked about the supranuclear lesions that affects the extraocular muscles. Now we move to the nuclear lesions. No? So the nucleus of the cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6 is in the brainstem. No? The 3 is in the midbrain. The 4 is in between the midbrain and the pons, and the 6 is in the pontine area. Okay. So it is more complex when you think of lesions in these nuclei. Why? Because it is associated with other neighbors. Merong ibang structures beside the cranial nerve nucleus. Okay. So later on, we'll talk about these associated signs like hemiparesis, ataxia, and facial weakness. But I would like to point to the cranial nerve 3. This is the cranial nerve 3. Nag-exit siya sa ventral side. No? Yung 6 din, ito, ventral side. No? Kasama, magkakatabi sila ng 7 and 8. But look at that. Yung 4, galing sa likod, sa dorsal side, tapos iikot pa harap. No? Dayo ng pagdadaanan niya. No? So, yan yung difference. No? The 2 exits in front, the other one exits at the back. This is the 5. No? Okay. So, patients with oculomotor nucleus condition, nagkaroon ng lesion, stroke, or maybe a mass, or maybe an aneurysm of a vessel in that area, ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng ipsilateral ophthalmoplegia. So, ano ang orientation niya? Alam nyo, meron tong picture. So, when you look at these patients, medyo partial ptosis or full ptosis, ang tawag is complete ptosis. Pag full is naka-close talaga yung eyelid, no? Pag partial, it's still open but ptotic. And then, there is deviation of the eye down and out, no? Naka-down and out. Ano siya? Naka-banlag. Alam niyo ba yung banlag? It's exotropic and oriented downwards, no? So ipsilateral to the lesion. No? But there are times, no? So an exam question, is there a chance na bilateral, maging bilateral ang condition ng patients with oculomotor nucleus lesions? Yes, if it involves the levator subnucleus kasi single lang siya and innervates both the levator. Also, if there is deficient upward gaze because of superior rectus are both affected, no? Because of the subnucleus. If the subnucleus is the one affected, no, it will produce both the ipsilateral and the contralateral superior rectus. Okay, so it can produce a bilateral sign, no, for cranial nerve 3 lesions. But most of the time, ipsilateral, so unilateral siya and at the same side of the lesion. So for trochial nucleus, pinakita ko kanina, galing siya sa dorsal side, tapos magta-travel siya all the way to the anterior part where the eye is located. It is the only nerve that crosses, no? So mahaba yung kanyang path, but at the same time it crosses. So any lesion in the 4th nerve nucleus or the trochial nucleus, it will produce a contralateral superior oblique palsy. Pero kung peripheral 4th ang affected, ipsilateral, no? Kasi yun ang peripheral nerve. But if it's a nucleus, it's contralateral. For abducens nucleus, since it is in the pontine area, there's lateral rectus, palsy, no? But at the same time, because when the nucleus is affected, yung gaze ang affected. Eh. So think of this as when you are looking at one gaze, so kung titingin ka sa right eye, ano nagko-contract? Lateral rectus that is supplied by your 6, di ba? Pero meron ding medial rectus, no? To perform a gaze. And that is innervated by your 3, di ba? So if the abducens nucleus is the one involved, meron dapat connection from the nucleus of 6 to 3. Ang tawag dun sa nerve fiber bundle na yon is your medial longitudinal fasciculus. So when the 6 nerve nucleus is affected, no? So walang cranial nerve, walang lateral rectus palsy, wala ring medial rectus. Meron ding medial rectus palsy, no? Because of a gaze palsy. So affected din yung medial longitudinal fasciculus. So instead of just eliciting just an inability to abduct the eye for the right eye, no, meron ding contralateral rectus palsy pa ganito. So ang involved na gaze palsy is towards the side of the lesion. Okay. So but as I've said, it is not just an isolated cranial nerve 3 or 4 or 6 nucleus, no, because it is often together with other structures, as in this case for the midbrain neurons, no, merong cranial nerve 3 nucleus palsy, no, ipsilateral, di ba, na ophthalmoplegia, na down and out ang itsura, na metosis, no, pero dahil affected din, for example, ang cerebral peduncles, this one, ang mangyayari, aside from that ipsilateral cranial nerve 3 palsy, meron ding contralateral hemiparesis kasi yung long tract ang involved, no? So aside from 3, meron opposite body weakness. Okay? If we talk about Benedict naman, may cranial nerve 3 palsy kasi affected yung nerve 3 nucleus. Tapos affected din to yung red nucleus. So ito, and then this one, kung may stroke dyan, it will produce an ipsilateral cranial nerve 3 palsy. Tapos may contralateral tremor and ataxia. So 3 plus opposite side shaky. Okay? And lastly, if it's clawed, ang clawed kasi 3, tapos dito kasi mayroong cerebellum. Ito yon, no? Dito sa ano. So if it affects that one, yung red nucleus affected din, and then this one, yung cerebellar peduncle is also affected. Ang mangyayari, ipsilateral cranial nerve 3 palsy plus contralateral ataxia and tremor. Ang difference lang, no, yung ataxia ang mas grabe sa clawed. Sabihin yung tremors. Okay? Remember that, Kasi red nucleus lang dito, no? So most of the time, tremors lang siya dito, most of the ataxia. Okay. Let's move now to the syndromes, the cranial nerve 6 syndromes or the pontine syndromes. If it's ventral pontine syndrome, it's either Raymond or Millard-Gubler. So ang ventral is this one. So meron kasing 6, no? And peripheral 7. So kanina, when we talk about the abducens nucleus, gaze palsy. But here, since ito yung involved sa ventral, yung peripheral 6 na, no, you will just elicit an ipsilateral 6. So ano siya? Ability to abduct on that same side lesion. Meron din siyang peripheral 7. So what is the difference between a central and a peripheral facial paralysis on examination? If you're still awake. Anybody can answer that? Can you answer that? If it's the peripheral 7 ang involved, what will be the, ano ba yung peripheral 7 as against kung nga central 7? If it involves the 7th nucleus. Ano makikita mo on test pag nag-neuro exam ka of cranial nerve 7? Pwede sumagot kahit sino. Excuse me, are you still awake? Tawag na lang ako. Okay. Okay. So here, if it's the peripheral cranial nerve 7, hemifield paralysis, no? Pero pag central, dito lang, lower half, no? Wala yung itaas. Okay? That's correct. So here, so yung 6 peripheral yan, so meron siyang ability to abduct, and also meron siyang hemifield paralysis, hemifacial paralysis. So aside from that, that's Raymond, no? Pero Millard-Gubler kasama rin yung long track, so may contralateral hemiparesis. So may weakness on sa body, no? So Raymond 6 and 7, Millard-Gubler 6, 7, and opposite body weakness. For the dorsal pontine dito sa area na to, which is Foville syndrome, meron kang 6 nucleus, so Gaze palsy to, plus 7 na peripheral, kasi peripheral, and then corticospinal. So yung pearls dito, no, meron kang can't look sideways, no, and then face weak, and then opposite body weakness. What if ang involved yung medial longitudinal fasciculus? So let's go back. When you're performing a gaze, no? When you're performing a gaze, kung nga to the right. So as I've said, di ba, merong contraction of your lateral rectus. Aside from that, may contraction din ng medial rectus of your left eye para makatingin to the right side. Okay? That's the gaze. So there should be a connection between your cranial nerve 6 nucleus, no, to the 3. Kasi para ma-contract yung medial rectus. You call that connection your medial longitudinal fasciculus. So if this one is the one affected, nagkakaroon kayo ng internuclear ophthalmoplegia. So this is on the side of the lesion, no? So kung nga titingin ka on the right gaze, ang nangyari, hindi maka-medial rectus, hindi maka-move yung medial rectus, tapos yung ito nagpipilit, nagkakaroon ng abducting nystagmus. Can you see me? So nag-abducting nystagmus to, hindi maka-adduct. Now, you call that your internuclear ophthalmoplegia. So one eye won't adduct, and then the other one, kasi pinipilit niyang magkaroon ng movement to that side, because it's a gaze, you're performing a gaze, and nagkakaroon abducting nystagmus. No? You call that internuclear ophthalmoplegia. And the medial longitudinal fasciculus involved is contralateral. So it's same side as the gaze, yung INO. So right INO, no, secondary to left medial longitudinal fasciculus. Okay. This is the last part of the lecture for the eye movement. So infranuclear. This one involves the peripheral cranial nerves. So let's go first with the oculomotor nerve, no? So as it moves anteriorly from the midbrain, no, it will exit in the area of the base of the skull in the subarachnoid space, and moves to, anteriorly to the cavernous sinus, into the area of superior orbital fissure. Ito yung nandun na sa orbital apex before it enters to the orbit. So ito yung mga key neighbors niya as it moves towards the globe, no? First is that in the subarachnoid space, may interaction sa posterior communicating artery. So, in patients with risk of aneurysm of the PCOM, ang tawag PCOM aneurysm, ito, it can compress your cranial nerve 3. Nandito yung nandito yung midbrain. So, ito yung cranial nerve 3. Lumabas na, nasa subarachnoid space to. And dito, may PCOM, no? In PCOM aneurysm, nako-compress yung cranial nerve 3. Ang outer layer ng cranial nerve 3 made up of pupil fibers. Okay? Dito sa area na to. So if the cranial nerve 3 is compressed, meron kagad pupil involvement. Dilated yung pupil ng patients dito. Plus down and out and metosis. So if this one is an condition, no? Pag nagpakita sa inyo ito, there's cranial nerve 3 palsy, down and out, there's ptosis, there is pupil involved, may anisechoria, compare it to the normal eye, which is 2 to 3 blissfully reactive to light. Ito medyo dilated, mga 5 or 6. Then it points to PCOM aneurysm. This is an emergency, so you have to already do scan for these patients. Okay, in the area of the cavernous sinus, merong siyang ICA, nandito yun ito ang interaction niya. Merong internal carotid artery, may 4, may 6, and merong 5.1 and 5.2. Okay? So yung pag-involve lahat ito, no, it points to a cavernous sinus, minus the 2. Kasi sa superior orbital fissure yung 2. Ito, walang visual loss, pero frozen eye. Kasi it involves all the extraocular muscles. Frozen eye, hindi makagalaw sa lahat ng direction. But here, frozen eye with optic nerve sa superior orbital fissure. So let's go to clinical associations. So as I've said, in PCOM aneurysm, you have to do MRI for this because there's cranial nerve 3 palsy with dilated pupil. For cavernous sinus syndrome, there is frozen eye plus trigeminal loss, no, in the forehead and also in the cheek. No, that points to cavernous sinus syndrome. Pero good vision to. As against when the superior orbital fissure is involved, producing the orbital apex syndrome, may optic nerve involvement. So may RAPD ka and may visual loss. Okay. What if it's the peripheral trochlear nerve, cranial nerve 4, no? So the pathway for this is in the midbrain, dorsal exit, diba? Tapos naglo-loop siya to the ventral area. And then magko-cross siya before it approaches the cavernous sinus and the superior orbital fissure before it enters the the orbit. So ito again, no? Kasama siya doon sa cavernous sinus, kasama rin siya sa superior orbital fissure, no? So in orbital apex and in cavernous sinus thrombosis, affected siya. Okay? So in trauma, isolated lang, nagkaroon ng trauma, head trauma, no? Vehicular accident, tapos wala namang lesions in the face, pero nagkaroon ng diplopia, tapos may head turn and tilt pagdating sa'yo, then you think of isolated cranial nerve 4 palsy. Yung kaninang pinakita kong parang very suspicious of cranial nerve 4 palsy, head turn and tilt na medyo slight lang, hindi talaga full head tilt and head turn. So you have to, tapos may history of trauma, then points to isolated cranial nerve 4 palsy. Pero ito, lang to, transient lang, nagre-recover. And then, as I've said, in cavernous sinus thrombosis, and think of this, na frozen eyeball, with also affected din yung sensory loss sa forehead and in the cheeks, cavernous sinus. Pag may visual problem, orbital apex. Lastly, for the abducens nerve, peripheral abducens nerve, the path for this is from the pontine area. Pinakita ko, no, it exits in the ventral side kasama yung 7 and 8, no. And then it enters the Dorello's canal. Ito sa petrous apex. So any otitis media can affect that area. But before that, lumabas sa arachnoid space, dito yung area na pag may increase in intracranial pressure, tapos may papil edema ka kanina, di ba nagkakaroon ng unilateral or bilateral cranial nerve 6 palsy. Yan yan sa area ng subarachnoid space. And then after passing through the Dorello's canal, cavernous sinus, and superior orbital fissure. Na-mention na natin yung nandun sa cavernous sinus at orbital fissure. Dito na lang, sa Dorello's canal. So pag affected yan, may 5, may 6, na? May 5, may 6, and sometimes may 7 and 8. Okay? So when you're testing for nerve 6 palsy, tas may otitis media, think of Gradenigo. So, ang mangyayari, may ear pain, cranial nerve 6 palsy, tignan mo rin kung mayroong sensory loss sa forehead, may numbness din sa cheeks, tapos may facial paralysis, same site, and also decreased hearing. Okay, or maybe imbalance too. Okay. So, Gradenigo yan. Okay, so that ends the part of the extra or the eye movement disorders. Now let's move now to neuromuscular junction disorders. Now I will just discuss one condition, which is myasthenia gravis. The pathophysiology of this is that there's autoimmune attack, or there's competition, or there's I forget that. Anyway, there is inhibitory effect, no? Competitive inhibition yon of these antibodies in the acetylcholine receptors, no? As I've said previously, I mentioned it, that acetylcholine is easily degraded by the acetylcholine esterase, no? So, mabilis maubos yung acetylcholine sa NMJ. So, kung continuously ginagamit mo yung muscles, no, later on, in the afternoon, napapagod na siya. So, nagkakaroon ng muscle weakness. So, ang tendency, dahil may mga antibodies, lalo siyang nagkakaroon ng inhibitory effect dun sa receptors. No? So, ang symptoms, fluctuating diplopia, no? Iba-iba. Ang presentation niya, when patients describe it, Doc, minsan okay naman ako, minsan naduduling talaga, tapos parang hirap na hirap talaga ako bandang towards the afternoon, ganyan. And then the ptosis, no, towards the afternoon, naka-chin up na sila because of too much ptosis, no. And signs, no, when you do ICE test, or if you have available tensilon, you can test for improvement and points to MG. Yeah. But the pupils are always normal in this case, no. And watch out for other systemic conditions like inability to swallow, inability to breathe, uncontrollable defecation, no, mga ganyan, no? So most of the time kasi it's okay, nagiging problematic if it involves already the breathing and swallowing. So with muscle disorders, I will just discuss two conditions. The first one is thyroid eye disease. No? This is an autoimmune inflammation and fibrosis of the extraocular muscles, leading to thyroid orbitopathy and restrictive myopathy. So symptoms includes diplopia, worse on up gaze, and there are dry eye symptoms, grittiness, tearing, cosmetic. Dati kasi naghiwalay pa yung Graves' ophthalmopathy, thyroid orbitopathy, hiwalay-hiwalay pa yung and restrictive myopathy. They call it now thyroid eye disease. No? So signs that includes lid retraction or actual proptosis. No? The difference, actual proptosis, when you look at the lateral rim, lagpas-lagpas na equator of the globe. No? While in lid retraction, talagang retracted lang yung lid or normal pa rin yung orientation ng globe. Conjunctival chemosis, ito yon, namamaga na yung conjunctival space, subconjunctival space because of accumulation of edema, no? Edema or water. Orbital fat expansion, so kaya minsan nagpo-proptosis, namamaga including the fat tissues inside the orbit. Crowding at the orbital apex, this one is dangerous because too much inflammation of the intra-orbital tissues, no, will compress the optic nerve, no, and will produce this orbital apex syndrome. So there should be immediate initiation of of steroids, IV steroids, no, in these patients, or else you will not be able to recover the compressive optic neuropathy that will happen, no, because of the compression of the optic nerve. Sometimes we break I mentioned it earlier, we break some of the rims, no, to relax the compression of the orbital area. I mentioned restrictive ophthalmopathy or restrictive myopathy. No, you have to test for force duction. And muscles involved, extraocular muscles enlarged, but tendons spared. No? I mentioned this because there's one orbital myositis or your idiopathic orbital pseudotumor. Maga din yung muscles, pero involve ang tendon. So, if you do MRI, hindi maga yung tendons. That points to a thyroid disease rather than orbital myositis. So ito yung parang most likely to less likely inflamed muscle, no. We memorize this as I'm slow, no. IR, inferior rectus, medial rectus, superior rectus, lateral rectus. So I mentioned this orbital myositis, or in some books it's also called idiopathic orbital pseudotumor. It's autoimmune in condition. Most of the time idiopathic pa rin, hindi ma-isolate kung anong particular autoimmune disorder ang involved, but it causes an autoimmune inflammation of the extraocular muscles. So I mentioned a while back that it's, aside from the muscle that is inflamed, also the tendon is also affected, no? The symptom is painful diplopia, eye movement restriction, often unilateral and acute in onset. And compared to thyroid eye disease, which can improve within days if you already improve the levels of your thyroid hormones, together with introduction of immunosuppressive or also steroid or other immunosuppressive agents. Here, even minsan recalcitrant, no? Even if you already initiated immunosuppressive, sometimes you have to combine several immunosuppressive to control orbital myositis. And this one, I've seen 2 or 3 cases that led to blindness kasi uncontrolled yung myositis, no? That the 3 patients that I've seen na nagkaroon ng visual loss, hindi na control yung orbital apex. So there's compression of the optic nerve. Dahil tuloy-tuloy, no? So iba-iba na yung na-combine na medications, steroids plus 3 other immune-suppressive agents, no? And with that with that number of different immunosuppressives, no, nagkakaroon din ng systemic actions like diabetes for steroids, immunosuppressives, nagkakaroon ng recurrent infections, etc. So those are the things that need to be balanced when treating patients with this type of conditions. Okay, so to end this lecture, Neuro-OFTA in a nutshell, always start with symptoms and signs of visual loss, color change, field defects, diplopia for eye, extraocular muscle problems, ptosis for cranial nerve 3, and nystagmus, no, if also present. These are for patients with cerebellar or brainstem or higher center problems. You do the mini neuro exam, vision, pupils, fields, fundus, motility. And then optic nerve disorders, acute painful, that's neuritis versus painless, ischemic, papilledema, and trauma versus chronic, compressive, toxic, or hereditary, which is Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. For visual pathway disorders, localized by field defect problems, chiasm, by temporal hemianopsia, when you do the tract homonymous hemianopsia, and then occipital macular sparing. For eye movement disorders, localized to supranuclear, both eyes, nuclear with brainstem signs, and infranuclear, single nerve, or maybe NMJ, or maybe the muscle is involved. For treatment, some are reversible. Neuritis, kahit walang treatment, no, kahit di ka mag-steroids, dapat mag-recover, except if you are if you are considering yung autoimmune optic neuritis, yung NMO or the MOGAD, because pag bilateral tapos may papillitis, no, you have to treat. Reversible din yung arthritic ischemic optic neuropathy, pero pag na-receive mo siya na counting fingers na lang, na yun ang irreversible. Dapat yung mga 40, 20, 50, yan, pwede yan mag-improve ba. Papilledema, of course, wala halos kasing walang vision loss masyado in the acute phases. I-reverse mo lang yung intracranial pressure. Compressive, basta nakita mo early on, pero kung months to years na, yun, there's some permanent visual loss. Some only risk controlled, no? Sa NAION, wala kang if devastating yung naging problem na merong severe visual loss, hindi mo na ma-recover. You just treat the systemic conditions para hindi magkaroon ng blindness. And then supportive for hereditary and chronic atrophy. As I've said, in hereditary, yung Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, kung maabutan mo sa mga 2080, 2100, you have to tell the patient not to stop smoking kung nag-smoke siya, or never smoke again, and alcohol, no, siguro eliminate na, wag nang magkaroon ng in moderation na alcohol drinking kasi it worsens the condition. Okay, let's move to the post-test. Okay, sana sumagot kayo. Okay, read with me. A 28-year-old woman presents with acute painful visual loss in her right eye. Color vision is reduced and RAPD is noted. Fundoscopy is normal. After 3 days of IV steroids, her vision improves. Which of the following is the most likely underlying mechanism? What's the answer? Okay. So, again, young, RAPD, normal, fundus, di ba? And then 3 days of steroids, nag-improve na. It points to a demyelinating type of optic neuritis. Yun yung classic. Okay. A 55-year-old man has sudden painless visual loss in his left eye. 55, tapos visual loss, left eye. Fundus shows a pale, swollen disc with splinter hemorrhages. ESR and CRP are normal. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step in management? Answer? What's your answer for this? What's the answer for this? 55. Sudden painless. Left eye. So yung kanina, tatlo lang naman minention kong painless. Ischemic optic neuropathy, papilledema, and compressive, and trauma. Tapos may splinter hemorrhage. So sometimes you will not be able to see yung full swollen. No? Sometimes part of this border lang ang indistinct. So maybe you look for splinter hemorrhages. Tapos ito, ang difference kasi ng anterior ay ng ischemic ng non-arteritic from arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy, mataas ang ESR and CRP sa arteritic type. Pero nakikita rin kasi yung arteritic type 70s to 80s, no? So pag 55 ganyan, you consider non-arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy. So tama kayo, B, control all of this or either BP or diabetes. Next, a patient complains of vertical diplopia. Worse when walking downstairs. So, ano ba sa tatlo yung nagko-cause ng hypertropia? Nagiging hypertrophic. Tapos yung head tilt, no? Nag-head tilt. Anong sagot niyo? Okay. So B rin, no? Kung ang head tilt niya doon sa eye away from the lesion. Okay? Eye away from so kung meron kang palsy sa left, ang tilt niya doon sa right side. Okay? Yun ang compensatory mechanism. I think that's it. So again, I would like to apologize kasi kompleto na kayo dun sa postponement of the lecture. And maybe if you see me around and you want something to change in UERM, you please feel free to approach me. No, we all need people like you who will give us feedback. No, and that's how we improve. No, according to Bill Gates. So thank you, everyone. Any questions related to this? I will share the link of this so that you can see also the pictures. Kasi tignan nyo, nakikita naman yung may pictures talaga siya eh. Kaya lang. But I will share this link. But maybe now. Sandali ah. Just copy the link. I will just share it in chat. Okay. Nakuha nyo na. Can you check if you can access the lecture? Nakikita nyo na, no? Yes?
Yes, po, Doc.
Okay. So, good luck no, in your exam. Tsaka sana makita ko kayo sa hospital next year. Okay? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.